Please rise if you wish for the invocation and the pledge. Dear God, tonight we are grateful to be able to begin our every 7 years review of the comprehensive plan and to become more familiar with the geography that is crucial to how we develop. Give us insight as we make any revisions needed. As we consider the matters before us this evening, grant us wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, that we may make the best decisions for those who have entrusted us to represent them. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This is the regular City Council meeting for the month of May 2025. City Clerk, would you do the roll call, please?
Councilmember Sell.
Here.
Councilmember Papalardo.
Here.
Councilmember Stevenson.
Here.
Sorry, I didn't hear you. Mayor Chazet.
Here.
Vice Mayor Butlin.
Here. Okay. First, being the regular City Council meeting for the month of May, we have public participation on any items that are not on the agenda with 3 minutes per speaker. Do we have any public participation? Okay. Thomas Marshall, if you could come to the podium, name and address for the record. Is that mic on? Could you push the on button so we can hear you, Mr. Marshall? There you go.
Is it on?
It's on.
Thomas Marshall, 301 Glen Club Drive. I've lived in DeBarry for 23 years. In those 23 years, 21 of them, I have had to clean off my back porch, preventing flooding from going into my home from the problem on North Pine Meadow in front of the golf course. It would seem to me that in 23 years, and I've stood at this podium probably 20 times to address the problem, but it has not abated at all. So again, I hope that you've taken a proactive position, making sure the drains are cleaned as the hurricane season is going to start in a couple of weeks, or supposed to start. The other item that and my neighbor, by the way, his house has been flooded 3 times, completely inundated. My other problem is the storm from last year caused a major problem with our road and sidewalk. The excess water that is pumped in from other areas of the city into a retention pond did breach one side of the pond, causing it to collapse. The sidewalk collapsed, and the roadbed was undermined. I have to admit the city did an excellent job in filling it in, and we're thankful for that. But it's not completed. The street is still unpaved. It's a section of about 40 feet long and 10 feet wide. The sidewalk is still missing, and it's just not fair for you to say, if that's the case, that because it's private property, they can't do something else. Well, anybody's property is damaged. Whatever the damage is, you're supposed to take care of it. And it's the water from other areas of the city that caused that collapse. And I think rightfully, you should take care of it ASAP. It's been 8 months now, and I would hope that you would address that soon. Well, I was told to combine both of them within 3 minutes, which I don't think was fair, but nevertheless, I'm doing the best I can.
Okay, thank you.
Question or?
No, thank you. There is a state law that says we cannot do anything other than an emergency repair on private property. You're behind a gate, you're in a gated community, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, that would be a constraining law, but you could further that discussion with the city manager. Thank you. Mindy Alexander. Name and address for the record.
Mindy Alexander, 512 Quail Lake Drive. So I'm here today hoping to find out maybe who I can speak to regarding the storm drain issues in Quail Lake, as well as the city's plans to begin lowering Quail Lake before hurricane season. Our home flooded during Milton, and since then we've made significant investments to protect our property. However, during a short storm on March 30th, we had deep water in the street, deep water in our driveway. It did not come in the house. It was a short 30-minute storm, but very concerning that we're going to have an issue again this year going into hurricane season. You know, being only 25 days out of hurricane season, you know, the lake is currently at the highest level it's ever been. I've been there 27 years. And I'm very concerned without action from the city, we're at serious risk with flooding again. I haven't been able to find a point of contact for these concerns, so I'd really appreciate any direction or help in getting connected with the right person. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. City Manager, could you give her direction?
Yeah, we'd be glad to meet with you. Just for your information, Quail Lake is responsible. This homeowners association there is responsible for all the stormwater drainage in that particular subdivision. And I know that there are areas where sidewalks are depressed, and the road has got issues in the road and everything else. All of them are related to the stormwater system that's leaking underground. We've been in contact with the HOA many, many times, and the HOA continues to deny responsibility. And so St. John's Water Management District, all the permits, your covenants, all the documents indicate and are very clear that the Quail Lake subdivision is responsible for their own stormwater system. I'd be glad to go over that with you, sit down with you and talk to you, give you the documents that you need. But it's your HOA that's going to be responsible for fixing all the stormwater and the leaking pipes under the ground.
Okay, that is the direction. We're not going to do a back and forth here.
No, I just want to say, how do I contact you to set up
You
that
can
meeting?
email
That's
me
all I want.
online there.
Okay,
And then
all right.
we'll coordinate a time.
All right, thank you
Perfect,
for your
thank you.
time. Thanks.
Kenny Whitmore, name and address for the record.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name's Kenny Whitmore. I live at 262 De Leon Road. I just wanted to come in and say thank you for helping clear up the right-of-way issue at my house, and we got the pumps working and everything seems to be pretty good. I just want to thank you for your help and working with me and Mr. Bauer and straightening this out. It's been a long time. But thank you and have a great evening. God bless you all.
Thank you. Next on our agenda is the approval of minutes for the regular city council meeting of April 2, 2025.
I'll make a motion to approve the regular city council meeting on April 12th, 2025.
April 2nd. Vice Mayor Butlin?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevenson?
Yes.
Councilmember Papalardo?
Yes.
Councilmember Sell, and I am
Yes.
a yes. Are there any additions, deletions, or amendments to the agenda? Hearing none. New business, item number 2, the Parks and Recreation Department is requesting the City Council approve Kimley Horn IPO 24 for pre-construction and construction phase services for Alexander Island.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Jason Scheitz here, your Parks and Recreation Director here at the city. So as you said, Mayor, IPO number 24 with Kimley Horn. So this is just continuing on with the process with Alexander Island. So in this particular IPO, there's 4 different tasks, as you can see outlined. Tasks 1 and 2 are change orders that came throughout the design process or the permitting process that required additional design in order to get the permit, and they're basically one step away from getting that permit to where we can, continue on with this. So we need to take care of that. Task number 3 here is to coordinate the plans review and the constructability review with our contractor. So we started that process as soon as you guys approved the contractor a few weeks ago. So to keep Kimley Horn on board for that is beneficial. And then task number 4 is the construction phase services, and that's contingent on your approval of the GMP, which will come later this summer. So we won't do anything there until that comes, but the first 3 tasks we're going to have to take care of as soon as you guys approve here tonight, hopefully. And then as far as the funding goes, to clarify where that money is coming from as far as the project budget, the particular line item is in Parks and Rec admin infrastructure, and I'll just read it out real quick. It's 7201 572 6300 is where you'll find that that budget there for the project, and this is all part of it. So with all that being said, we're looking for your approval so we can continue on with this process.
Thank you. City Clerk, do we have any public participation?
No, ma'am, we do not.
Councilmember Sell, questions or comments?
We are getting closer. Very exciting. Thank you.
Councilmember Papalardo.
No comments. Thank you.
Councilmember Stevenson.
No questions, thank you.
Vice Mayor Butlin.
I'm always excited when things get moved along and go quicker and quicker and quicker, so I'm excited that this is moving. That's it, thanks.
You know I'm excited.
Of course, of course.
No, I'm glad that we are at this point and that we're almost ready to move ahead.
Carmen.
So,
yeah,
City Manager?
I think we're getting pretty close. I think, June, when do we going to get a proposal for the guaranteed maximum price?
So it's dependent on this permit. So they keep telling us every day we're going to get this permit, and it's coming. So as soon as the permit comes, they'll be ready to then bid it out to their subcontractors. And the goal is to bring that GMP proposal back to you in the first meeting in July. And then we can, the contractors have said within 30 days of that approval, they can break ground. So that's the goal, and as of now, we're on track.
So that's August 1 at 6 a.m.?
Let's do it. If that's the time you want, that's the time you got.
And I think the permit's the St. John's Water Management.
Yeah, St. John's Water Management permit
Can we light a fire
the upland
under
permit.
Yes.
St.
Who do we
John.
need to talk to?
So somebody over there, because there's been a lot of back and forth, but
Yes.
we're getting there.
All right. If there's no further discussion, I would entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve the Kimley Horn IPO 24 for pre-construction and construction phase services.
Second?
Vice Mayor Butlin?
Yes.
Councilmember Sell?
Yes.
Councilmember Papalardo?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevenson?
Yes.
And I am a yes.
Thanks.
Agenda item number 3, the city manager is requesting city council approve the proposal from DDS Enterprises LLC to construct the Bernasek Drive Drainage Improvement Project.
Good evening.
Welcome.
Mayor Chazé. My name is Kevin Hare, and my company is K Hare Construction Services. The purpose of the Bernasek Drive Drainage Improvement Project is to restore severe erosion within the city's drainage easement at the east end of Bernasek Drive, and to upgrade the stormwater system that's there to better manage the effects of severe storm and weather events going forward. Hurricane Milton in October of 2024 caused very severe erosion at several locations within the city of DeBary. And on Bernasek Drive, the unprecedented rainfall totals of more than 15 inches of rain in 12 hours overwhelmed the existing stormwater system within the city's drainage easement and caused extensive erosion between the properties at 670 Bernasek Drive and 665 Bernasek Drive. In response, the city received a proposal from the engineering firm Neil Schaefer for design services to model the drainage characteristics of the surrounding neighborhood and analyze the native soils to determine the best method and to better prepare the location for severe storm events. Neil Schaefer prepared construction drawings and specifications for the city to request pricing from contractors for construction of the proposed drainage improvements. The initial proposal from Neil Schaefer for design services is in the amount of $15,000, and additional funding was proposed by Neil Schaefer in the amount of $19,260 for a total amount of $34,260, and this amount was approved by City Council on March the 5th of 2025. Due to the urgent nature of the proposed stormwater improvements, the contract documents have been prepared. proposals have been requested. We requested from local contractors that have previously provided similar services to the city. The request for proposal documents require the work to be complete before August 1 of 2025. Below is the results of the proposal is DDS Enterprises LLC was for the amount of $161,144.30. Gregory Construction at $241,028, and All Terrain Tractor Service at $261,676.70. In order to expedite the completion of this project, the City Council has requested to waive the standard procurement process, the bid process, and for the Bernstein Drive Drainage Improvement Project, and approve the proposal from DDS Enterprises LLC. DDS Enterprises LLC of Pearson, Florida, has previously provided stormwater construction services to the city with good results. The principal of DDS Enterprises, Mr. Nick Shepard, is a certified general contractor. Mr. Shepard has visited the site actually more than once now and has met with the homeowner and is quite now familiar with the property and the site, and he's anxious to get started. So with City Council approval, DDS Enterprises is tentatively scheduled to start the work and have it as soon as possible and have it completed by early June. Upon request from the city, Neil Schaefer Incorporated submitted the attached proposal dated March 19, 2025 in the amount of $21,359 for construction phase services. Construction phase services from Neil Schaefer consists of on-site monitoring of the construction of by the engineer of record for compliance with the drawings, and also final certification of the project when it's completed. Included also in the Neil Schaefer construction phase proposal is services by the geotechnical engineer that analyzed the site, Geotechnical and Environmental Consultants Incorporated. They will provide soils analysis and monitoring of the soil compaction efforts by the contractor, and provide soil density testing and reports for the project record. My company, K Hair Construction Services, work order 0425-02 is attached to this agenda item for City Council approval. The purpose of this work order is to establish a budget for construction management services for the project. The primary function of the construction management services is the development of the contract documents for the request for contractor proposals, contract execution, and recommendation of payment to the contractor for work as it's completed. The proposed budget amount is not to exceed $18,096 and is billed hourly at the direction of the city manager. These are relatively routine inspections, basically to monitor the work and make sure that it's done in according to the plan, coordinate with the engineers, and recommend payment to the contractor. Irrigation is going to be really important to this. The turf grass that will be installed will be reinforced, and it'll be really important to have the irrigation functioning properly so that this sod takes and establishes as quickly as possible to avoid and help to prevent further erosion during the storm season. So it is recommended to have a separate irrigation contractor do this work. And so that will try to be coordinated, but and it hasn't been procured at this point. It's estimated that the cost for the irrigation would be about $2,500. So for funding for the project, Neil Schaefer Design Services already been approved at $34,260, and then the proposal from DDS Enterprises LLC is $161,144.30. Neil Schaefer's construction phase services, $21,359, and K Hair Construction Services at $18,096. So the subtotal, without the irrigation, $234,859.30, and the estimated total is $237,359. $21,359.30. Funding for the project will be drawn from the general fund reserves. Funding that is expended for the Burnett-Sec Drive Drainage Improvement Project is subject to potential reimbursement from FEMA for the hurricane relief. So with that, it is recommended the City Council approve the proposal from DDS Enterprises LLC in the amount of $161,144.30 for the construction of the Burnett-Sec Drive Drainage Improvement Project with a 7% contingency budget of $11,280 for a total budget amount of $172,424.30. It is recommended that City Council approve the proposal from Neil Schaefer in the amount of $21,359 for construction engineering services for the Burnett-Sec Drive Drainage Improvement Project, and it is also recommended that City Council approve work order 0425-02 in the amount of $18,096 for my company, K-Hair Construction Services, for construction management services for the project. And with that, I would happy to answer any questions that you may have.
City Clerk, do we have any public participation?
No, ma'am, we do not.
Councilmember Sell, questions or comments?
No questions.
Councilmember Papalardo?
No comments, thank you.
Councilmember Stevenson?
This is the second time we're repairing this site, correct? The first one failed.
Yes.
That was my question.
Would you have any estimates on how long the expected lifespan of this new remodeled, re-engineered construction could last if it works the way it's supposed to? Is it like a 50-year thing, or?
Well, stormwater pipes normally are 35 to 50 years, depending, as it's kind of what the extent or the expected life cycle is for stormwater piping.
Okay.
It's really hard to say what Mother Nature can do, and to be honest with you. I mean, the kind of storm that we saw last year, it's really hard to say. I mean, this has certainly been designed for that purpose, to meet that purpose. It's really hard to say, though, and there's really no guarantees when it comes to severe storms.
So now when it comes to the irrigation and making sure that that sod gets established, is that going on the residents' water, or is it coming directly out of city water with a special timer?
No, it's the residents' water. Yeah, so it'll just be establishing their irrigation system that's been damaged from the erosion, but then also setting up heads to make sure that that whole area gets really good coverage so that it gets irrigated properly.
All right, thank you.
Vice Mayor Butland?
Thank you. I was on the same wavelength. I was wondering how long this would last had we had another Milton. Will it survive that, being done right now? So I'm hoping that it gets done before hurricane season actually starts. And there's no delays on that, but that's all I have. Thanks.
Yeah, and I did remember the residents who live on Burnett-Sec, and the fact that we had done something before which not nearly as extensive as this, and it had failed. So I'm glad that the city, on their obligation for their right-of-way, is managing this prior to hurricane season. So if there's not further discussion, I would entertain a motion.
Do we need all of these recommendations in the
Yes.
motion, all three of them? All right, let me go ahead. I'll make a motion to approve the proposal from DDS Enterprises in the amount of $161,144.38 for the construction of the Burnett-Sec Drive Drainage Improvements Project with a 7% contingency budget of $11,280 for a total budget of $172,424.30, as well as the proposal from Neil Schaefer in the amount of $21,359 for the construction engineering services for Burnett-Sec Drive Drainage Improvements Project, and the work order 0425-02 in the amount of $18,096 from K-Hair Construction Services for the construction management services for the Burnett-Sec Drive Drainage Improvement Project.
Second.
Who was that? Was that you? Okay. Councilmember Stevenson?
Yes.
Councilmember Sell?
Yes.
Councilmember Papalardo?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Butland?
Yes.
And I am a yes. Agenda item number 4. Staff is requesting City Council approve the DSR Construction, Inc. Change Order 1 in the amount of $26,346.64, the PEC Surveying and Mapping Proposal for $9,500, and authorize the city manager to execute the proposals.
Good evening, Council. Richard Villasenor, City Engineer. This change order is change order number 1 for the project. It's to adjust for actual project material quantities for time and to provide as-built documentation to complete the project and do the closeout.
Could you remind us of the project?
Definitely. This is for the connector trail, further reduced to segment 2, which picks up where the Integra Trail on the east side of Integra Apartments leaves off, and it connects it to the Gemini Springs Trail. It's about 400 linear feet of new trail on the east side there. The considerations are that the original construction contract amount was for $179,555 with 34 cents, reimbursable by FDOT per the joint partnership agreement. In the course of construction, a broken and plugged pipe was found underneath the alignment of the new trail. It turned out that that was the control structure discharge pipe for Spring Walk Storm Pond. Once we figured that out, we addressed it. The major time delays here are a result of the Duke easement agreement that took over a year to finally hash out, and the restricted access to the site. The use of the Duke easement was not acceptable, and therefore the construction equipment had to be reduced and to go over the existing trail to access this portion. Bid documents excluded as-built in the documents just by not simply listing it. Therefore, the contractor did not price it. The project construction has been completed and is open for construction and use, and then the only thing pending is the paperwork to close it out. The cost of both proposals will be paid from the general fund reserves. The recommendation is for the City Council to approve the DSR Construction, Inc. Change Order 1 in the amount of $26,346 with 64 cents, the PEC Surveying and Mapping Proposal for $9,500, and authorize the city manager to execute the proposals. And obviously, this will be effective immediately. And any questions?
City Clerk, do we have any public participation?
No, ma'am, we do not.
Councilmember Sell, questions or comments?
No questions.
Councilmember Papalardo?
No questions.
Councilmember Stevenson?
No questions, thank you.
Vice Mayor Butland?
I don't have any questions.
I would just say we learn from our mistakes going forward, so on future contracts, could we double check that as-built are included in the bid documents?
Definitely. We try to include it every time because of this.
Yeah.
And this was just one of those older contracts that's been around for a while.
Right.
And
Yep. And I appreciate that you've caught it and it's been addressed, and just would say going forward that, you know, when you misstep once, then you look twice the next time. So if there's no further discussion, I would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the DSR Construction, Inc. Change Order 1 in the amount of $26,346.64, the PEC Surveying and Mapping Proposal for $9,500, and authorizing the city manager to execute the proposals.
Second.
Vice Mayor Butland?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevenson?
Yes.
Councilmember Papalardo?
Yes.
Councilmember Sell?
Yes.
And I am a yes. Thank you. Agenda item number 5, staff is requesting the City Council approve and execute the city services easement documents for the Town Park project adjacent to FDOT 1792 right-of-way.
good evening, Council. Richard
Good
Villasenor,
evening.
City Engineer.
I recognize you.
This is to preserve DOT's rights and restrictions over the pedestrian ways that meander in and out of the DOT right-of-way onto private property. The city enacted Resolution 2321 in September 2023 for the non-standard walkways, landscape, and associated landscape agreement for these same areas. The city code's streetscape standards along US 1792 and within the transit-oriented development require removal of existing sidewalks and for the construction of a multi-use trail that meanders within a landscape easement that's established and thus straddling the DOT right-of-way there. There's no cost associated with these easements. The recommendation is that the City Council approve and execute the city services easement documents for the Town Park project adjacent to DOT's 1792 right-of-way. Just a quick exhibit here. This is strictly along 1792 and along that new trailway on that side. Once the city executes the documents, it'll be DOT's turn to provide their signatures. And I will take any questions.
City Clerk, do we have any public participation?
No, ma'am, we do not.
Councilmember Sell, questions or comments?
No questions.
Councilmember Papalardo?
No questions.
Councilmember Stevenson?
No questions, thank you.
Vice Mayor Butlin?
I like these things that don't cost us money. This is good. I'm, okay.
And I have no further comments.
Mayor, can I do have
Yes.
if you don't mind. Just to fill everybody in, this is a standard required in our TOD. And within the TOD along 1792 is a meandering trail that's 8 feet wide, all the way down to the Buckley property. If you can look at Integra, which is on the picture on the right, you'll see that the sidewalk there meanders, and a lot of times we just drive by it and we don't even pay attention. But there is landscaping where the sidewalk bows, and there's landscaping there so it's not just a straight sidewalk along 1792. One, it's aesthetically pleasing. Two, it creates a multi-modal transportation trail for folks to be able to go from north to south or south to north in the TOD, either on their bike or walking. And again, aesthetically pleasing, safer transportation. And once it's all completed, and as you see the out parcels there along the junction, that sidewalk will be improved along those as well. And so all the way from Dirksen all the way down to Buckley, it will have that meandering 8-foot sidewalk on both sides. So I just want to refresh everybody's memory because that was passed a while ago, and not everybody really recognizes that 8-foot sidewalk in front of Integra there. So I want to let you know that's will be copied on the opposite side of the street.
Thank you for that. If there's no further discussion, I would entertain a motion.
We'll make a motion to approve and execute the city services easement documents for the Town Park project adjacent to FDOT's 1792 right-of-way.
Second.
Councilmember Sell?
Yes.
Councilmember Papalardo?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevenson?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Butlin?
Yes.
And I am a yes. Moving on to agenda item number 6. Staff is requesting the City Council approve the Helicon change order proposal of $178,105, which includes the use of the contingency and the ECS change order proposal in the amount of $18,680 for the sinkhole remediation completion.
Richard Villasenor again, city engineer. The purpose of this change order is obviously for actual project material quantities and time involved. The sinkhole remediation was approved by council at the January 22nd meeting. The pre-construction site meeting took place February 19th. Field work began February 24th and was completed April 3rd. The total project field work duration was 29 days. The original approval was for $161,790, which included the Helicon proposal for $145,000 and the ECS geotechnical proposal of $16,790. Council also approved a 10% contingency of $14,500 for the project. The total project timeline in those proposals was estimated at 10 to 11 days, 13 days by the ECS proposal, depending upon the grout intake. The Helicon final invoice replaces their prior approved proposal in contingency. Helicon notified the city early on as soon as the project started, that the grout points were taking more grout than anticipated. At this time, the following periodic updates, a forecast of how much grout would be needed could not be provided until the project completion. The nature of this type of remediation project is that the estimates rely on current best technology, which still falls short of helping to provide more exact dimensions of voids and loose material as may exist underground or needed quantities of materials. The total cost of this remediation is $358,575 to be paid for from the general funds. Also with the note that $170,000 of the cost was included in the budget amendment approved on March 5th, 25. The remaining $188,575 will come from the general fund reserves and be included in a future budget amendment. The details obviously are as follows in the table provided. The recommendation is requesting City Council to approve the Helicon change order of $178,105, which includes the $14,500 contingency. Approve the ECS change order in the amount of $18,680, and authorize the city manager to execute the change order proposals. And the implementation is to complete and approve the final remaining invoices for closing out this project.
Thank
And that
you.
will take the motion.
City Clerk, do we have any public participation?
No, ma'am, we do not.
Councilmember Sell, questions or comments?
We're handing out a lot of money tonight. No questions.
Councilmember Papalardo?
I just want to mention briefly, or ask, a lot of the incentive to go forward this as timely as possible is because of the risk to the road, correct?
And houses.
Voids.
And the houses and.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the void was in the, obviously, some of it's on private property, some of it was in the right-of-way and underneath the road, yes.
Yes, there are a number of liabilities at play, right?
Sure, because
Okay.
because as it expands, you don't know how it's going to expand, and
Right. Okay, that's all. Thank you.
Councilmember Stevenson?
Yes, I was just going to ask for clarification on this diagram you've got up here for the injection points. And are the numbers just numbering the different injection sites, or does this have to do with the amount that was injected?
No, they're just strictly a grid pattern of where the injection locations are. That's to identify in the reports that such injection point took this much grout or the depth of it was of a certain depth. That's strictly just for identification of the specific location.
And so they did the green ones first, and then they had to go back and do the blue ones?
This was taken from the last field report, so the cyan colored ones are just the last ones that got grouted, but all the green ones are the ones that have been completed per this exhibit.
Great, thank you.
Vice Mayor Butland?
I have no comments.
Yeah,
Nothing wrong with it.
I understand that when you're grouting and it takes more and more grout, that there's no stopping and saying, let's put it on an agenda item for 3 weeks from now or a month from now. And so this is, I understand the comment about the amount of money that we're spending, but this is what it takes to stabilize the road and the houses and to prevent a sinkhole from dropping through. So unfortunate, but we've addressed it, and I'm glad to see that it's done. If there's no further comment, I would entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the Helicon change order of $178,105, which includes the $14,500 contingency. Also approve the ECS change order in the amount of $18,680 and authorize the city manager to execute the change order proposals.
Second.
Vice Mayor Butland?
Yes.
Councilmember Papalardo?
Yes.
Councilmember Sell?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevenson?
Yes.
And I am a yes. Moving on to item number 7, the city manager is requesting city council approve the mediation settlement agreement and escrow agreement between the city and DRC Emergency Services LLC pertaining to debris removal services following Hurricane Ian. That was a while back.
I had
thank
to
you.
look back.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. During Hurricane Ian, obviously, FEMA is responsible for oversight of debris collection sites. Actually, we have to get our debris collection sites approved by FEMA. And also, they reimburse based upon the debris that you collect and haul off, et cetera, et cetera. During Hurricane Ian, we had Thompson Consulting Services was our monitoring company, and DRC Emergency Service LLC was our debris pickup company. During that particular process, during the hurricane debris hauling, we did U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, who are the subject matter experts on behalf of FEMA, came on site and audited what was the operations there. They noticed that there was a large discrepancy between what was evaluated as the debris that was being brought in versus the amount of debris that was actually on the ground there at the site. They did sampling, et cetera, of additional trucks coming in, and advised the city that the evaluation of the debris that was coming in was not accurate. And so at that particular point, we changed our methodology. We measured the debris on site. We went ahead and worked with Army Corps of Engineers to protect the federal government money. Army Corps Engineer standards for actually calculating some debris they call it a 4-to-1 standard. And that 4-to-1 standard is that when you grind up the debris, there should be the debris hauled in should be 4 times as much as the cubic yards that you haul out in mulch. That's their standard. We evaluated the standard in various other cities, and it ranged anywhere from 6-to-1 to 8-to-1 in other cities. And it depends on what type of debris you're picking up. If you're bringing up limbs, the standard is a little bit higher than you are if you're doing tree trunks and everything else. So we initiated payment based upon the 4-to-1 standards that FEMA provided to DRC, which they never cashed. And so we had obviously went to mediation. The amount that they determined that was owed both Thompson and DRC was $960,901.84 for 57,000 cubic yards. I'm rounding off, if you don't mind. And so our expenditures that we paid them was $430,411. The check that didn't cash. So we went to mediation and determined that the best methodology is to try to determine somewhere in the middle of where the amount of money that we owed them. And we settled on the amount of $768,721.48. And upon your approval of this agreement, we will issue a check to that amount. In addition, the difference between the 968 and the 960 is going to be put into escrow. And that money is going to be determined based upon
The 968 and the 960, what
I'm
is
sorry,
that?
the 768 is a check we're going to,
Okay.
768,000 is a check we're going to cut. The difference between that and 960,000 is going to be put into escrow until FEMA can determine what is going to be reimbursed and what is acceptable. These funds will come out of, as always, all hurricane funds come out of the general fund reserve. And then depending on FEMA, will be reimbursed accordingly. So even though we're expending these types of monies, there's a good probability that we'll get reimbursed for these particular funds. The amount of which FEMA reimburses is yet to be determined, but we feel that this is the best path forward in resolving this particular discrepancy. That was identified by the Army Corps of Engineers, and so we are recommending that the City Council approve this agreement to go ahead and send $768,721.48 to DRC. Let me get the DRC Emergency Services LLC, and also a check to Fishback Dominic LLP. Which is our escrow agent for $192,180.36. And as you know, we will continue to work with FEMA to get this matter fully resolved and fully reimbursed.
Thank you. City Clerk, is there any public participation?
No, ma'am, there is not.
Councilmember Sell?
No questions.
Councilmember Papalardo?
I very much appreciate your description of the added internal controls that we've applied. Sometimes you gotta learn the hard way.
Well, Thompson is no longer our electronic
Even better.
monitoring company, and DRC is no longer our debris company.
That was my note right here.
Perfect.
Still doing business?
So
Hurricane
we had
Milton.
we had a better experience in Milton, right?
Milton, yes, we used True North as our monitoring company, and we used Ceres and also Waste Pro as part of our debris pickup there.
Great, thank you.
Councilmember Stevenson?
Thank you. I had expressed similar concerns, and I appreciate that in the future, we're not going to have these discrepancies, we hope. Thank you.
Vice Mayor Butland?
Nothing further, Mayor.
Just an amen and an amen. If there's no further discussion, I would entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve the mediation settlement agreement and escrow agreement between the city and DRC Emergency Services LLC pertaining to debris removal services following Hurricane Ian.
Second?
Vice Mayor Butland?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevenson?
Yes.
Councilmember Papalardo?
Yes.
And Councilmember Sell?
Yes.
I am also a yes. So that ends the agenda for the evening. We're moving on to reports. Councilmember Sell, anything to report?
No, I have nothing to report tonight, sorry.
Councilmember Papalardo?
I attended the Chamber of Commerce's State of the Region panel of mayors. I'd like to comment that we are leading the way on a number of fronts, both locally and at the state level when compared to our neighbors. And the mayor did an incredible job, and everyone was just blown away because she and the city do such a great job.
Thank you. Councilmember Stevenson?
The main thing I think I've been getting phone calls about recently is the school situation. People saw the news that came out, and I know we've gotten our little letters here from the school board lawyers. And I mentioned to Carmen, hopefully we could have some sort of a town hall for our residents so that we can give them some more information about what's going on. And I don't know if the rest of the council would have consensus for that.
Well, one of the things we were working on, Councilmember Sell arranged a meeting for me to, Springview HOA is meeting on Monday. And so I'll plan to meet with them to provide them all the details and all the information that I have and to explain the city's position so that they have the facts. The neighborhood is probably most infected. But I'd be glad to meet with HOAs will probably be the best way that are affected by this particular project, including the reserve that's next door as well, and any of the business owners that are around the particular area there. Be glad to meet with them, provide them the documentation, not only for the council's determination, but some of the law that surrounds it that we had put in our cease and desist letter. There's some significant laws that are in there, and one I'll just emphasize tonight is that one of the laws after you, the council had made a determination on consistency and also some of the factors that are in the interlocal agreement. By Florida statute, they had a responsibility to file an appeal, and they did not. And
Within 30 days.
within 30 days, yep. And so that makes the decision by the city council final. And so the city attorney and I have been having discussions back and forth on the appropriate actions, and we will get with you shortly on the appropriate actions going forward. But when I meet with some of the HOAs and some of the residents, whoever want to meet there, I'll explain some of the laws that we put into the cease and desist letter and what they mean and what we think the rights are of this city. And then also go over some of the things that was put into the attorney letter by the school board. And show that some of the things there are just not accurate. And so it's just a process we'll have to go through, unfortunately, and we'll go through those. But yeah, I'd be glad to meet with any group in that regard to explain our position. And we will come to council with a recommended action plan on exactly how we want to approach this particular matter.
And so that's when there would be a public meeting and public participation for,
Well,
besides just the HOA
and
meetings.
Kirk can chime in. I think one of the things, obviously, there's going to be a response. But actually, ultimately, we'll have to make a decision on, and the council will have to make a decision on if we are going to take legal action, when that should occur, and how it should occur, and what type of action that will be taken.
Well, I appreciate you being proactive and talking to some of the HOAs in the area, but I've been hearing from citizens all over the city and wanting more information. I did share the press conference that you had put out, so I appreciate that. Thank you.
Vice Mayor Butland?
On a happy note, we did a tree giveaway again this year, and I don't know how many trees there were, but they were gone within an hour, hour and a half. Everyone was enjoying it. We could have used maybe 10 more, but they all went. That's all I really have done since, and tomorrow for FYI is CUMSTAT.
Correct. For 8:30 in the morning
8:30
in
in
the
the morning.
chambers here. It's
Yep.
always a good meeting. Public is invited. I have been involved in a list of things. Councilmember Pappalardo did join me at the State of the Region, and that was, I felt, a very profitable meeting. In addition, I've done a couple of other things that aren't part of the normal things here. I did invite the Central Florida Zoo CEO to walk Alexander Island with me, and that was a very interesting interchange. He is, as most people are, very impressed with the property when he saw it, and he was immediately thinking of things that we might be able to do together, which would be very good. Some of his patrons will be our patrons, probably people of a certain kind of interest. And so it was a very good visit. Again this year, I've done it before, was approached by a young woman who's going to a state, I want to say convention or meeting, where she was selected to represent teenagers, women, and she needed to interview a woman in a political role before going, and that was very good. It's always interesting to see a young person's interest in public service, and that was a special opportunity for me. I did attend the League of Mayors meetings in Sanford. The head of the Florida League of Mayors is Nancy Miller, and from here in Volusia, and so she had put together a panel with Sanford's experts and staff in reference to flooding and those kinds of concerns. It was very interesting. There were mayors from across the states. So that was an interesting time. As usual, I attended TPO, and we had the recap of the call for new projects. And this year, DeBerry had no more projects submitted in the call, but the way that works is once your project is received as part of a call, it gets rated, it gets positioned in a list. The money that comes into the TPO for these kinds of projects spans a very long period of time, and we have multiple projects that are working their way up in the queue for funding. So the new projects that came in typically come below those, because once you've reached a point where you have secured, say, position number 3, new projects cannot come in and unseat you and say, well, now this one's really important, and you've been waiting your term and been number 3, but the new project, boy, that would be a fun one to do. That doesn't happen. So we didn't have any additional projects, but we are moving, the ones that have been approved in prior years are moving up the queue, which is good news for us. City Manager, do you have anything to report?
Yes, Mayor. As you may know, the elected official roundtable started a subcommittee regarding stormwater, and we had another meeting on Monday, and so we are continuing our march with the other cities and the county on trying to formalize a action plan, stormwater, going forward. Right now, we're going through an education process. We've had folks from St. John's, FDOT, and others that are stakeholders in this endeavor. And we're trying to work on, I think we had some presentations by the county on their GIS system to where we believe that some of the strategies here of getting all the infrastructure in the entire county on one GIS system so that no matter where you click on, you can see the stormwater infrastructure. Now, each city has it individually like we do, but there's no collective area where all the stormwater infrastructure. Those are the easy things. Obviously, the money aspect of it and what projects get done, and the integration between FDOT, because they control some of the canals on the east side, and some of that integration is starting to occur. And so I think you're going to see ultimately all our lists of stormwater projects be merged together for one comprehensive county list, so they can all, everybody can understand where those lists are and see where those opportunities on a county-wide basis to see where they can be merged together and projects can move forward on a regional basis for funding. And that's, it's not a fast process. Just engineering alone could take 18 months or more. And so folks that are expecting stormwater improvement this hurricane season are not going to get much simply because of some of the things, these things here are going to take a tremendous amount of time and a tremendous amount of money. So I just want to let you know that it's progressing, and funding is always going to be an issue. Certainly, if you had all the money, you can get these projects accelerated, but until you can really kind of determine what's needed, and right now we're just doing a fact-based study to try to figure out everything that's needed and what are the low-hanging fruits that we could pick off with smaller amounts of money that will prevent flooding Volusia County wide. And so that's what we're working on there. I just want to let you know that's in process. Second, we're going to be starting our process on our mobility plan. We've been working on it now for about 18 months. We are required by the ordinance to review our mobility plan every 4 years. And as you know, construction costs have doubled since 2020 when we first passed this, and our plan is expanding. We are planning on having, and you can mark your dates there, we have to do 2 community meetings. We're going to do one on the evening of May 14th and one on the morning of May 15th. One obviously for residents and everything else work, and the 15th is generally will be attended by businesses, et cetera, that are involved there. Our first reading will be done on June 4th of 2025 will be our first reading. So we'll have a community meeting on May 14th in the evening and May 15th in the morning, and then our first reading is going to be June 4th.
Do you have times for those meetings?
Probably at 6 o'clock on the 14th and probably 9 a.m. on the 15th. As you can see here, I have a binder on my desk, and I have a binder for each one of you to take home with you for your bedtime reading. And it is the mobility plan. Eventually, I want to meet with each one of you individually to go over the specific plan. And if you get an advance reading, and it does incorporate House Bill 479. And House Bill 479 was passed last year. That requires developers to only pay one transportation impact fee. And that responsibility is being put on the local government that issues the permits to collect that fee. And it requires us to collect the county's fee. We have been doing so since October 1 by law. And so, but dealing with the mobility plan and the county fees, we will be starting negotiations with the county on how this plan merges with their transportation impact fees. And so stay tuned, but we're moving forward with the mobility plan. And you'll see in here, if you dive into it, we'll be, in the mobility area, we'll be collecting the county's transportation fee. And we'll be dedicating it to Dirksen, making sure that Dirksen gets improved. Right now, the county has a zoned-based impact fee, meaning that all the impact fees that are collected are expended in a specific zone. Our zone is DeBary, Deltona, and Orange City. And so there hasn't been many improvements on the county roads in DeBary for 10 to 15 years. And so those things are going to be negotiated, and we have to come up with an interlocal agreement on how we're going to disperse these particular funds by October 1, 2025. And so they'll go well, but in the meantime, we're going to do the mobility plan and get that rolling, and it takes effect 90 days from advertisement. And I think it's going to be advertised, if I'm not mistaken, this particular Sunday in the paper. And 90 days, if you do approve this, then this will take effect 90 days from the date it's advertised. So if you don't mind, I'll give you your binder on the way out. And we'll be glad to give you, set up appointments to go over it in detail and what the mobility plan individually, and so what's identified in there.
Thank you. City Attorney, do you have anything to report?
Just one item, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Council. With respect to the letter that you received from the outside counsel to the Volusia County School Board, if you have any questions, my suggestion is that you discuss them with either Carmen or me. There's no need to send emails back and forth. I think that would be problematic, but glad to discuss any details or questions you might have. Thanks.
Thank you. Hearing nothing further, we stand adjourned.